afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. Defining our future, the theme of this event. For those of you that I had the honor of discussing before, when I hear future, is like music to my ears. So we will be discussing about future, and we will discussing also about, specifically about business and change, because these are the two main aspects of the panel that we have today. We have various industry expertise here, both the stock exchange listed companies, but also Romanian powered entrepreneurial companies. And like I said, we'll be discussing on one hand businesses and on the other hand change. We hear a lot that doing businesses nowadays is harder and harder because of the uncertainty, because of the complexity and so on. And on the other hand, when we discuss change, you know, it reminds me of this GIF that I saw on social media. Who wants change? And you see all the hands up. And then you would ask again, who wants to change? Like to take action and to actually do something. Let's say that fewer hands were up and a lot of people were more under the table. So what we want to discuss today is how we can drive change through the businesses that we are doing. I can tell you that we did a rehearsal discussion. We met before we were in this panel. And we learned also a lot of things about us, and there are a few things that we have in common. And I will only share one with you, in addition to the fact that we all like to speak a lot. We are also, all of us, very much optimists about what the future might bring, and more specifically about what the future of Romania might bring. So we do hope that at the end of this panel, we leave you with a little bit of dose of optimism that I saw through the panelist discussions. I was mentioning earlier that we will discuss about change. So the first thing that the first question that I wanna address to the panelists is very much related to if the scope of business has changed. You know, we heard the keynote earlier, and I remember this old saying of, there was this American economist, Milton Friedman, in the 70s. He was saying that the business of business is to do business. So what I want to ask you is, what has changed from that time to now? And what is the power of business and maybe driving even more change towards the future? Is the business of business only to do business nowadays?
Yeah.
Gennady,
yeah, thank you. So I would think today has changed slightly, because today any business should deliver financial KPIs, so profit. So from this side has nothing changed. But if we would see what would be in our next future, of course, we will be focusing much more on sustainable business. Of course, we should to be more focusing on the society, our impact on society. So I would say that it balanced. So in the future will be more focusing on balancing this shift only profitability and together, of course, with impact on society and people. Okay. From my side, people, yeah.
Even about profits, I don't know. I mean, we all love profits, but if you look some successful businesses, like one in my industry called Uber, they have done until recently 32 billion in losses accumulated. So,
and I think they even
successful?
That they don't want to
market
do profits,
cap 160 billion. So pretty successful even without profits. Coming back to your question, I think that it hasn't changed the idea that we have to do business, but perhaps what it's changed a little bit is how we do business. What's the model? Is it still what we learned in the 80s and the 90s, the Dallas model? Cutthroat capitalism, where all is fair in business and in love and war in business, right? Or is it a little bit different? Perhaps, I don't know. Let's look at the current successful models. Let's look at the Amazon model. Okay, it's still cutthroat, but a bit different kind of cutthroat. Or let's look at Patagonia model. We cannot argue that it's not a successful company, but it's a company that has in its DNA the sustainability, the limited growth, all the things that they do, interestingly. Or I don't know, let's look at local example. Let's look at ZTEC. Yeah? It's a different way of functioning, taking into account the stakeholders a little bit. Really, I mean real stakeholders, because we like to talk a lot. What are the real stakeholders? What does it change? If you look at just two of them, yeah, and not the shareholders, two of them, two others, the employees and the customers. Do their needs did their needs change a little bit? Did their expectations change? We talk also about culture. Yeah, we like to talk about culture. What has changed there? I mean, how do we attract employees? Our employer branding. Yeah? Because at the end of the day, the culture is the behaviors. How those have changed. And so it's a bit different. And I'm finished with two very quick examples from my experience, recent experience in the last years. So we did two things in the last 3-4 years, post-pandemic. One is that we started to invest in a sector that was pretty far from what we do, the insurance sector. But our approach was very different. Again, because what I'm challenging about how is also the strategic part. Because today, I think there is a big opportunity to look a little bit at the markets, at the value chains, at the relationship between firms, even competitors, a bit differently. Of course, by still respecting the law. And this is what we created there. So we very quickly, in 3 years, we created some sort of an ecosystem. And it's not just companies on paper. It's something that 3 years into it already delivers a few million euros in profits. 3 years ago, I would not have dreamt of anything like that. And the other example is, again, in 2020, we decided to create a vehicle to invest in companies. Again, with a different thesis, eclectical. We had 4 or 5 companies at that moment. Now there are 40. And it's different. Those companies work together. Some of them are our suppliers, our IT suppliers. Others are. So it's much more focused on the leverage, on the synergies, on how can we help each other. So very different. And again, I'm talking about things that I see.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dan. Corneliu, how is in the energy sector?
So the short answer would be that I agree with these two gentlemen. That would be the shortest possible. If you want a bit longer answer from me, please. I would say like this, that first of all, I think that there is a word missing in that, say of Milton Friedman. It's the business of business is to do sustainable businesses. That's something which now we face. And why? Why that? Because we need an explanation. I think that there are probably many explanations, but there are two main explanations. One is that this statement was right by the time doing business for business came into conflict with the sustainable future. So when we started to use resources, not in a sustainable way, we came into conflict with only doing business, so profits. That's why now we have to make a step back and look at it and say, yes, we need to think more in a more sustainable way on doing business. This is one thing. The other thing is that this statement, 70s, yeah, was in a time where demographics helped a lot businesses, because that was the baby boomers, then Generation X, I think, came in with huge numbers of people. So the competition on the workforce doesn't exist at that time. Now we are not like this. Now we need to fight between us for the people. And in order to bring people in our companies and keep the people there, we need to bring them a vision about the future which is longer than their perspective. And this is sustainable future. So that's why I believe that now most of the companies, they are looking to build this vision. And most of the successful companies of the present and future will build a future of the business around the sustainable business. That's, I think, the two main drivers of the change in that saying.
So we rebrand the saying of Milton Friedman, and we make it towards a business with purpose. Dan, I come back to you on the culture thing. What we notice now in research is that there is a shift in which organizations are behaving, in the sense that there is more transparency. Yeah, we move from what we called a black box to a glass box culture, which actually meant that if some time ago what we knew about a company was more what we saw on their website or maybe a press release, now we see a lot of information that comes out of their maybe employees through social media, or the ratings, or the they say the NPS scores, or how is this transition going, specifically maybe in Autonom, but also how you see it in terms of the And I'm sure we cannot only focus on challenges, but I really like to hear also a lot about benefits of adding more transparency to it.
Yeah, there is that saying that the best disinfectant is sunlight, yeah, and I think it's something has to do with transparency. I'm a bit biased here because we took a lot of
Yeah, that's why I came to you.
leap of faith, let's call them, but at that moment we just called them tests, and some of them were validated, others not, into this journey, and now we are pretty advanced in terms of transparency. All information in our main company is transparent to all employees, except the one that legally we are not allowed to share with them because we signed the NDAs, including salaries, by the way. So again, I'm not necessarily recommending this kind of journey to anybody, but at least you can try. And I don't see a lot of drawbacks. We had a strange fight on our case last year. I think I can say this in public. Nobody's listening. Journalists. Two institutions were fighting over our case because two Romanian institutions, regulatories, because one was saying these guys have issued bonds on the first category of stock exchange. They have to give this level of transparency. And another institution said, yeah, but on the competition laws says that you cannot disclose this. And it was a bit bizarre. But and we said, guys, we just want to follow the rules and be as transparent as we can. Just one point. We all strive to be faster because everything is changing. And actually, prior point to that, sorry for that, we look at this as a threat, like other things that we'll probably discuss in our panel, what is a constraint. And I think the opportunity is to see what is the opportunity, what can we gain from it. And this is our way. So one idea, we want to move faster. Yeah, we want agility. Okay, in order to have agility, what do we need to move faster? We need perhaps a little bit more faster decisions, yeah, more autonomy. And I can, again, say from our experience, that's not enough. I mean, you can give or create something where people are moving fast and make decisions, autonomous teams. We do that. But you lack something, which is called the alignment. They constantly need feedback. And transparency is a very good road towards that feedback.
Okay, thank you very much. Corneliu, you want to add something on transparency side?
Yes, first of all, you ask a really difficult question. Now I'm more used with Sotiris parties than with, this kind of question.
I haven't been to those parties.
Not those transparent, huh?
I only been there. So, yeah, transparency. What to say now? I think we are facing a revolution now. The revolution is, ESG revolution, or call it the way you want. It's a kind of revolution like the revolution we already faced in the past, yeah, industrial revolution and so on. It's fueled by a technology also. That's why I think transparency comes together with governance like a key feature of any company which is looking to be financed in a correct and way and is looking to grow, actually. And this new type of capitalism, which is now building, capitalists where companies are, most of the companies are owned by most of us, it's definitely requires transparency.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just continuing what Corneliu said. So, of course, transparency is something important today. It's creating about trustability of a company. And, of course, there are some challenges, I would say, about privacy, because what does it mean to be transparent? Of course, when you are transparent with your shareholders, stakeholders, about your plan, strategic plan, and another side would be sensitive information. Again, when you are listed, you should be a bit cautious on every stage when you are so transparent, I would say. But transparency is a buzzword today. Buzzword, why? Because it's buzzword, but it's important because it's a new stage of a business. Today, we discussed, Dan, do you remember, about salary transparency? I think today we have some HR representatives here. In big company, they start step by step to be transparent much more. What does it mean? That employee create a culture and the company is creating a culture. So they are creating this, how to say, more credibility and trust. It's just one side. And another one, of course, being transparent with shareholders, being transparent with your supply chains, with your all value chains. So it means that today we start to be more, how to say, I don't want to use transparent word, but to be more open to discussion and to share our plan and our strategic movements with our partners. Yeah.
But you were actually ever thinking about making some of the salaries or aspects like this transparent?
Yes, and we are working, again, if I would say from our side, our company, what we are doing, yes, of course, we are putting a lot of efforts to be much more transparent in all chains, in all our value chains of our business, doesn't matter where, and not only in the United States, where is our headquarters, but in any country where we have our legal entity. Yeah, it's an important fact.
It sounded very politically correct. I want to add two quick things as a reaction to what Gennady said. So first is I think the lack of transparency is a bit of an illusion. I mean, people talk on the coffee machine or whatever. So
and now they talk even more with social media.
Exactly. There are all these glass doors. And all. Second is, okay, if we think it's important, we channel it. But perhaps we look a little bit before. You talked about shareholders. Let's look at the incentives. Because a lot of the problems come from the incentives. Why should a CEO not be fully transparent to its shareholders or to the employees? Because he has something to gain, financially, prestige, whatever. And perhaps if we look a bit deeper at the cause, at the root cause, we can go further. And we will all like transparency then.
Okay. Thank you very much for this. Now, there is a benefit in the fact that we have the mics, but we do also want to hear you. So my next question will actually be around risks. But before we tackle that in the panel, we highly encourage you also to scan the QR code that you see on your tables, and you'll be prompted with a question. And we are very much interested in your perception at Romanian level. What do you think that could be, let's say, priorities in terms of risks for the future? What we have been prompting you with in that question that you will see are the 10 risks that the World Economic Forum put out there in 2024 in their annual report. And we are very much interested in understanding your ranking. By the way, I do think that the report, which is issued annually, it's one that is very much of help for any of the leaders in this room. More than that, I highly encourage you to look at it comparison with the previous years as well, because I do think that the insights actually come from comparison. So while you are looking at the risks and maybe put there your priorities, let's say, use the power of the fact that we have the microphones and ask you not what you think necessarily that will be the risk, but how can we turn these risks into opportunities for Romania? So we have war nearby. We did have pandemic. We do have problems with AI or lack of adoption or cybersecurity and so on. So the monster is out there. However, you know, I feel sometimes that we focus too much on pessimistic futures. Maybe the monster is not that bad. So how can we make it more of an opportunity? Dan, please.
Oh, I was thinking that we like monsters. They even make movies, successful movies, and that's why we focus there. But I was thinking, for example, Corneliu has much more experience than probably most of us in the room in looking at the energy sector in Romania and the diversity of types of energy. So, for example, this, which is a real problem in today's economy, to address the sustainability of how we produce energy, it's less of a problem for Romania. So it was just a quick reaction. Another thing, thinking about this threat of uncertainty, that it changes and we make plans and they are no longer valid, but we can also turn it a little bit around. So in the previous panels, in the presentation, I heard something that I keep hearing more and more. We saw in those 10 companies from the world, 7 from the US, another one oil-based, one pharmaceutical, but Bailey US. And there was this affirmation that we are a bit doomed, you know, in Europe, and perhaps even more in Romania, because we are a let's face it, at the fringe of Europe.
We said we do optimistic.
Exactly, and my optimistic point, contrarian perhaps, because sometimes from being a bit contrarian, but not a foolish contrarian, a hedged contrarian, I call it. So you get data and you test it and you make decisions. Perhaps it's a niche, but you build a successful business around it. And me, I would not discount our environment, Europe and Romania, even if we will not be successful in AI, which most probably will be the case. But it's not just AI, we are in a service economy. Most of the services are localized. Somebody is going to make a good business out of that, out of financing that, out of servicing that, out of providing, I don't know, even blue collars, whatever. There's a lot of money to be made locally, even if we will not be the champions of AI. It's not AI. Today it's AI, last year it was metaverse, before it was, I don't know what, blockchain, and all these, some of them exist and continue and thrive. So my point is that there are many things, and we can finish with that, that many opportunities that we have here, that we actually see, that we act upon, and we start to see the results. And I think, and I finish with that, to leave my co-panelists talk, there is perhaps a second wave in the development of Romania. So the first one was in the 90s, 2000s, when everything could be done. Now with a bit of courage, a bit of relationship, a bit of money, you could compound quickly. And you didn't need a lot of knowledge. Nobody had it, or most of the people didn't have it. Now I think the difference is that still we can do a lot of things, we can professionalize a lot of sectors, and there is a lot of room to grow. And let's face it, sometimes there is not enough competition, and this can be an advantage, but you need the knowledge. Okay. And not just brute knowledge, you need the people that get knowledge, and perhaps the learning organization that allows this.
Thank you, Dan.
I believe, I also, to add on, I believe that uncertainty, it's good news for Romania. Because of two reasons. First of all, we are trained in Romania to have no predictability. So we don't know even how much taxes we have to pay this year, what to say about, So we are trained, we are uncertainty proof, So this is one thing. The second is that uncertainty, I think, is helping the small players always. To give you just a prediction, I don't want to take your job, but I'm just trying. A prediction about energy sector. I believe that the ones that will be, under the biggest pressure in the future, near future, will be the big players, because the change and the uncertainty given bring it by the change in this sector, which is very conservative, will shake from the roots all these big players and will create spaces for some new players, small, to grow. So I don't think it's bad news for Romania's economic environment.
Thank you very much. I heard someone saying not even change is what is supposed to be than what was before. So I think even what we name now change has been different. Maybe that's why agility and small players could win more room in that sense as well. Nadia, please go ahead.
Yeah, of course, about agility, agile, and other buzzwords, and especially after COVID. But what I'd like to say, we are living in Romania, very agile people, agile nation. And in front of us, I would say, it's really bright future. Why to be pessimistic? Because before to COVID, everyone was pessimistic. After we observed, we discussed what happened, the economy went up. Of course, here from sanitary, it was some issue, problems. But in any case, I would say that it's quite bright future for us, because looking on macroeconomic situation of a region, geographically, Romania, now with investments in infrastructure, construction, energy sector, diversification of economy, I would believe that in the next 10 years, it's really bright future would be, and also for every companies who will be apt, capable to adapt their strategy to come to invest, to improve their strategic focus in Romania. They'll do a great business and they'll contribute to society. And of course, having more than 19 people inhabitants. Many of expats are coming back because they see opportunity in Romania. It's again about culture. It's about to come with positive note, to show this positiveness, not only in Bucharest or Ilfov or Cluj, but entire region, entire country, in all counties. And I do believe, it's really a great opportunity for Romania in the next 10 years, not only 10 days. Because in 10 days, we'll see what will happen in politics.
I will build a little bit more on that. But before that, I kindly ask the colleagues, maybe we can see what the room thinks in terms of risks. I'm really curious to see if we can see the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, we have to go back. So I will not go through all of them because I think we can all see. What I highly encourage you to do is to have this picture in your mind and then look again at the report because the report gives you insights into the next 2 years, but also the next 10 years. Plus there is also a public national consultation on Romania, specifically on this as well. So I think it's wildly interesting to kind of see how this crowd here positions in terms of how the study has been done. Now, I also want to add a point, and I will come back to your question on this idea that we as Romanians, we do have a lot of opportunities local. And I said at the beginning that it's something that I think united us in the discussion before that. There is this analysis that Harvard does it. Last edition was in 2023. It is called the Atlas of Complexity. And they look at the economic complexities of 134 countries in the last study. So let's do like this. Let's see, Romania is among those 134, first of all. Let's mention this. Please help me with a raise of hands. Who of you think that Romania is in top 100? Who of you think that Romania is in top 50 in terms of economic complexity? Come on, more optimism, no optimism?
Out of all the countries in the world,
Out
right?
of all the countries, out of all 134 countries. Okay, let's make it this way. Who of you think that Romania is in top 20? In the 2023, we were placed on the 19th, so 19 out of 134 countries. In terms of economic complexity, which actually does not mean only development, but also means the sophistication of the products and services that we export. So I do think, okay, it's only a data point, and I'm sure there are more discussions around it, but I do think that there are a lot of possibilities, and we should be also looking in terms of the opportunities that we see locally. More of that, when you are gonna check Romania on this website, you can see that we have constantly grew in the last period of time. And I think that's also consistent with what we heard in the first keynote when we won the gold medal, comparing to other countries. So coming back to what you said, Gennady, I kind of want to link the same question to the other two gentlemen as well. So what can actually businesses do to drive this more positive narrative for Romania? And I don't want to put pressure on you two because you are local entrepreneurs, and but we do expect that you can contribute to a more positive narrative for Romania. So how you see this going further?
Just from my side, I would
Yes,
say not like entrepreneur, but like a leader of local entity. Sometimes if a headquarters see opportunity in different regions, what we are doing, we are trying to do lobby just to invest in us, invest in our regions, in our markets, because we see here opportunity. And moreover, I would like to add, in our study, Romania is in top 10 from Foreign Direct Investment Index. So top 10 across the world. It's, I think, at 9th place or 8th. Because in my region, I'm in charge for more than 12 countries, and 6 of them are in this top. And that is the reason why we are doing lobby and trying just to develop Romania like a hub. Doesn't matter, and I observe, I have a lot of among friends, even here, from logistic perspective, from business, from construction, and many multinational companies where still see opportunity. From our side, we just try to do the right lobby to invest, to see big opportunities in our region, in our countries, and of course it's linked to our outcome would be more positive for society and sustainability here in local market.
Thank you, Gennady.
I remember many years ago, there was this movie with people that had superpowers. And one lady was asked, what's your superpower? And said, I'm lucky. He said, but this is not a superpower. And I said, think again. So to our case, and in generally in businesses, this can be a superpower. So we are a bit blessed, let's face it. And it's not necessarily our merit. We just have to cherish it and use it. We are geopolitically, geoeconomically in an extraordinarily good place. And this is a big part of it. The other one, coming back to what was said earlier, our inventiveness and our capability to adapt. Actually, we have a better saying than the English one, because the English say that if you get lemons, you will make lemonade, right? We have something, the Romanian, sorry for the ones that are not Romanian speakers, something with a whip, yeah, you know, how you make a whip out of what. Yeah, it's much more
he will translate it in the break.
In the break. So actually, yeah, this is an advantage, I think. What we do lack, and where we could all help, is we lack the power of association. And it is a big problem. I mean, in terms of interpersonal trust, if you look at all the statistics, European, whatever, we are usually in last place. So we trust our family a lot, perhaps too much, but it's very hard to trust people that are not from the family. And it's very hard to associate, to pay, you know, to be sure that you are going to get paid on time. And, so, and you see it in the business practices. And I think what we could do, because it's a call for action for us, is to try to act first, because this is how you gain trust. You start with trust. And I think my personal opinion is that trust is not 53% trust. Either you trust or not, it's 0 or 100. And then, of course, you can go back to 0. But you start with 100. And of course, and you do checks and controls, but you show. And there is this, in mythology, it's called the Pygmalion effect. Yeah. You start doing it, and it creates a reality, because reality is perception. And perception makes reality. And it's like a... And we have to fight here, because if we get out of this room where we are perhaps a bit enthusiastic now and we have a good period and whatever, but you go out and you will see a lot of pessimism in the news, in your employees, your colleagues, everybody. And of course, we can argue and say it's not justified. You know the statistics. You are living very well. Their perception is not necessarily this. And we can play on the psychology. And we can role model and we can show example, and we have to persist. I mean, sorry, this is the way you do it. This is how we did it in our company, and people are very optimistic, and even if it's hard, but they fight another day. And this is how we should perhaps extend a little bit.
Yeah, you know what, this pessimism also, it's reflected in the way Romanians look at their agency beliefs, in the sense that, in the ways that they think that they can shape the future. There was a statistics done this year, and there is a higher percentage of Romanians that think that the future is in the hands of political leaders, or in the hands of God, or even in the hands of the next generation, than in these two hands. So I do think that this idea through which we keep looking for more optimistic futures and also spread it around us could be helpful. What is your take on it, Corneliu?
So what I can say is, what I can tell you is what I do for that. You know, I
Please.
am working 10, 12 hours a day since already, you know, more than 32 years. And I am energizing now about 1,600 of my colleagues to build the company which will drive the energy transition of Romania in such a way that Romania in less than 10 years, I would say soon after 2030, will be the most advanced energy generation, consume, and you know, country in European Union. And this is what we can do. And I totally agree with you that, you know, this belief of, you know, we need to wait for something or from someone to do something, it's wrong. We need to put these two hands, and maybe one head would be good, to work.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing this. You know, in my work, we talk a lot about futures and the idea that when we look ahead, we don't want to, I don't believe in predictions, and I don't think that we can know for sure how 2027 or 2028 will going to look like. Why, as Corneliu was saying, we don't even know what taxes we'll be paying next month, and so on. And I also do believe a lot in this power of agency and imagination and you know, the futures, the preferred futures that we want to build in. So what I want to ask you to think of, and as a disclosures to all the people out here, they knew of this question up front. But it's still a hard question, I think. What I want to have you think is, if you were to imagine a newspaper headline, we are in 2034, there is a newspaper headline that you read it 10 years from now, and that newspaper headline brings you a lot of joy, and it's about the Romanian business environment. Take a moment and think, if you haven't thought of it before, what is that headline about?
No bureaucracy, everything digital. Because today, I would like a joke, yeah? Everything is online, you're just going online, doing your registration, and after they are inviting you to come to the office and to show the documents. Question, why? So I would expect that, yeah, of course, after 10 years, Romania will be much more digital, so a lot of things will be done online, and IE will support in such way, I would see. And I would stop here, because we can continue, of course, we will not finish, but it's clear case study, because it's something different what we discussed. Why? Because properly, like a week ago, when I should to prolong my documents, everything registration, I made it online, but after I was invited, I came to come to immigration office and stay there, to stay in the queue. So for me, it was shocked. Question, why I made it online. So I would expect in 10 years, of course, because we are digital, we have the fastest internet in the country, so we would be more digital, digitalize everything in, and especially in local entities, local authorities.
Yeah. So the headline would be something like, Romanian forgot the word queues, in terms of like when they go to public administration. Yeah? Okay, good, Gennady. Thank you very much. Well, I will go to the next panelist. I kindly ask you as well, there is another question on Menti. Just one word we need from your side. Again, very on the positive side, on the optimist side. If you were to think about Romania's future, one word that excites you the most. And until the audience does that, done, what would be your head, or Corneliu, what would be your headline?
So the headline, you know, I can see, you know, 2034, the headline in Financial Times, first page, you know, like CEO Club Romania organized the number X conference, forum, and party of the best, richest, happiest business community in Europe.
Amen for that. Thank you very much, Corneliu. Done? You cannot beat this one.
I had a different answer, but now, I mean, on this, because you said about killing the bureaucracy, I can imagine a headline from a nice business magazine with, I don't know, I talked about Zitec, Alex, there, the man who, or the company who killed the bureaucracy in the digital, or stuff like that, or the energy that you said. I mean, we all can be there, and we will be. I think some people, persons in this room will be, for sure, I can bet on this, among champions, and not just local champions, because we are already local champions, but regional, international, European champions. And this is it. Of course, allowing that the press will somehow allow for positive news. And this is perhaps
we
a positive
have the press here in the room, so
perhaps
no
this
pressure.
is exactly. Perhaps this is the one that we will have also positive titles, because reasons you can always find, but also the approach to communicate the positive things. And if a little bit more entrepreneurial, a little bit more trust, I would be very happy. 10 years is a long way. No? Many things will happen in 10 years.
Thank you very much for that. I think we do need in the Romanian, like the PR of the country, additional to the famous sportives that we have, additional to Dracula, maybe we also need what type of Romanian entrepreneurs, or more Romanian entrepreneurs that can define us. So if we look back, we do see a lot of, on the screen, we do see a lot of opportunities, creativity, room to improve. So there are also people that are semi-optimists in the room, not fully converted. least corrupted, so that was also linked to the discussion that we have before. That being said, all of us here in the panel, like I also said at the beginning, we do believe in Romania's possibilities in a positive preferred future, and we highly encourage all of you to take actions towards that, because I do believe that the future is our source of imagination. Yeah, think of it, it's not written yet. And because it's not written, we can imagine the way we want it to be. And okay, we have no pressure, we don't necessarily we're gonna get there, but hopefully we'll get as close as possible to the future we want to build for Romania. Thank you very much for this. Thank you, Sortiris and the team.